The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, An Introduction to SAP BusinessObjects Cloud. I am Megan Souza, Marketing Manager here with Dunn Solutions Group. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items. This session will be recorded, and we'll send out a link to the recording to everyone who registered within 24 to 48 hours after the presentation. We also have recordings of all previous webinars on our website in the event that you missed any in the past at dunnsolutions.com. Also, if you have any questions during today's webinar, we encourage you to submit them, and we will address as many as we have time for at the end of the presentation. If that question is somewhat complex and we need more time to answer, we do promise to follow up with you for those. So let's take a look at today's agenda. I will begin by doing introduction to Dunn Solutions Group. From there, I will turn it over to today's presenter, Brandon Novi, an Analytics Project Lead here at Dunn Solutions. Brandon will discuss an overview of the SAP BusinessObjects Cloud platform, and then we'll discuss the business intelligence capability along with the predictive and planning capabilities, and then we'll do a demo of the platform. So let's begin. Dunn Solutions has a long history of delivering innovative business technology solutions. We are headquartered just outside of Chicago and have offices in Minneapolis, Raleigh, and Bangalore, India. Our offerings fall into two practice areas. Our application development solutions feature portals, e-commerce, and content-managed websites, mobile application development, and custom application development. Our analytics solutions feature analytics and BI platforms, as well as data warehousing and data integration, along with predictive analytics. We are authorized SAP, Liferay, and Microsoft training providers and offer classroom, virtual, private, and custom options. We believe that training is important because once we deliver a solution, we want to make sure that those who need it know how to use it and maintain it. Our clients, some of which are included here, are a combination of Fortune 500, mid-market companies, government agencies, and nonprofits across all verticals. About 80% of our business are commercial clients, and 20% are nonprofits and government. We maintain strong partnerships with top technology companies in order to offer our clients the most innovative solutions available today. Our application development practice solutions develop solutions that are custom and help differentiate our customers from their competitors. We provide solutions on portals, e-commerce, and content-managed websites, custom transactional applications, as well as mobile applications for integration with back-end systems. And we've been doing custom application development since our inception in 1988. Our analytics practice helps deliver information to decision makers throughout your organization so that it runs better. We can help with decision making by not only looking into the rearview mirror, but also looking forward into the future by leveraging predictive analytics and data mining techniques. Our analytics services in the cloud feature big data, migration services, data warehousing services, as well as analytics. We are an SAP Gold partner and have been a top-level partner for nearly 20 years. As an SAP authorized training partner, we help companies nationwide maximize their technology investments and offer public, private, virtual, and custom courses. Our public classrooms are located in Minneapolis and Raleigh. Please contact us for any SAP training needs your company may have. We offer a global delivery model that gives us the flexibility to build teams that are best suited to our clients' timelines, budgets, and preferences. Projects that utilize offshore resources are always led by someone local and US-based. Thank you all for allowing me to introduce you to Dunn Solutions Group. I will now turn over the presentation to Brandon. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you, Megan. As Megan mentioned, my name is Brandon Novi. I am an accredited SAP associate and trainer working at Dunn Solutions for several years now. I've been working with business objects, gosh, I think coming up on 8 years now, and I've technically been working with it longer. I've been working with Crystal Reports for about 12 years now. I am certified to teach several classes, including Lumira, Design Studio, and the classic dashboards tool, the Webby, Web Intelligence, and Crystal reports, as well as the information design tool. I also do a lot of back-end work. I do a lot of implementations or installations of the Business Objects Enterprise, as well as upgrades. Let's get started talking about the Business Objects Cloud. So the SAP Business Objects Cloud, hence the name, is a cloud-based solution that provides all the following. It includes business intelligence, as well as planning and predictive, all within one solution that's all browser-based. So some of the characteristics of the cloud, of the Business Objects Cloud, include high scalability, the ability to expand on demand, and what's really powerful with the tool is just having it up and running in minutes. You basically, once you get your credentials, you log in and you have the software ready to go. The time it just takes will just be to bring in your data and build the stories after that. It's just ready to go. And what I really love about the cloud is that it's just one tool to learn. You don't need to learn a dashboard tool. You don't need to learn a reporting tool separately. You just learn, it's all one thing to learn. One thing I do want to clarify is that Business Objects Cloud is not a replacement for on-premise business objects. It can be used on its own as, again, one tool, or it can also be used to complement on-prem. There is the ability to connect the two together. So how does this all work? This is SAP's strategy for the different versions of business objects, the enterprise versus the cloud. Starting at the bottom, we have our traditional on-prem BI solution. This would be available, again, on-prem in your own data centers. And the enterprise offers business intelligence through Business Objects 4.2 and Mobile BI, as well as it has several tools to work with analytics, such as Lumira and Design Studio for dashboards, Analysis for Office, Webby for analytics and reports, etc. It also has a planning tool, the Business Objects Planning Consolidation 10.1, as well as a separate predictive tool in SAP Business Objects Predictive Analytics 3.1. Again, those are all several tools that all work together to make up the on-premise BI solution. The Business Objects Cloud, as I mentioned, is its own standalone tool that includes everything within your browser. It includes analytics, the ability to, again, work with predictive as well as planning. Again, all one tool, one browser. But if you already have the on-prem in place, you can use that again as a complement. So that they can be connected, for example, with universes or say with BW, you can connect the two together. Now, the Business Objects Cloud is just a piece of what you see above in the overall Cloud BI solution. And that works perfectly fine on its own. However, if you want to take even more advantage of the cloud, there's something called the SAP Digital Boardroom, which really just shows off the cloud. The idea would be you can connect it to displays in a conference room or a factory, and it would be interactively click on the televisions and connect to live data and have it change on the fly. But let's say there's a scenario where you're traveling. Obviously, the digital boardroom wouldn't work well for travelers. This is where Business Objects Roamby comes into place. This would be the business intelligence mobile on a tablet or a phone that would connect to the cloud. In this demonstration today, I'm going to be concentrating mostly on the cloud, and I'll be demonstrating part of the digital boardroom. This is the architecture for the Business Objects Cloud. It all lives on the HANA Cloud platform, but again, you don't need to set that up or do anything like worry about that part. SAP will do that for you. And then all lives again in the SAP HANA Cloud platform, and with that, you have several capabilities where you can connect to data, you can wrangle and model the data, clean it up a little bit, and then all the infrastructure is already available right in that cloud, again, accessible through your browser. Then you also have the ability to create stories, which can either be dashboards or reports, and you can collaborate right within the tool. So you can collaborate, you can share stories with coworkers, you can invite them to open stories directly, or you can even have meetings right within the cloud in the digital boardroom. And as I mentioned, mobile, it's already mobile capable. You don't have to do any special tweaking to worry about getting your data. You don't have to do any extra complexities to make things work mobile at the story level. And we also have APIs available for third-party support. And again, all within that tool, we have business intelligence, where we can discover our data, we can make charts and tables, and I'll show you in a few minutes what I really love are all the geospatial maps that are available. And we also have planning, where we can set up events, allocations, we can set up our budgets, as well as predictive, so we can take all of our data and analyze it, we can explore it, see what makes our data, what makes it do what it's doing today. And then lastly, we have the digital boardroom, which again is all in this one tool where we can just really show off the BusinessObjects Cloud. I do want to mention that then the cloud can connect to different sources. It can connect to cloud data sources and applications, as well as on-premise data sources. So I keep talking about the cloud. Some of you may realize that obviously these servers have to live somewhere. This is where the data centers are, from where SAP stores all the data. So for example, if you're in the United States, you'll either be assigned a location either in the eastern US or the western US. And if you're in another country, they also have locations in Germany, the Netherlands, and Australia. They are planning to add locations in China and Japan, and they're kind of thinking about adding locations as well in Russia and Canada. If you are kind of nervous, you're not quite sure, you're ready to put your data in someone else's hands, I recommend you check out the website mentioned in this slide, sapdatacenter.com. They go into a lot of detail. It's a really great site about how they keep their data protected from both cyber attacks and any physical issues, power outages, etc. So what can you subscribe to? What's the portfolio with SAP BusinessObjects Cloud? If I mentioned all these different items like business intelligence, predictive, and planning, maybe you're not ready for all of that. And that's perfectly fine. If you just want to, maybe you've got just 10 people and you want to work with business intelligence, you can subscribe just to business intelligence licenses. Subscribe to that portfolio. But let's say after a while you've been working with it and you're ready to go to the next step. You want to start working with predictive. You can then go and upgrade, or you can subscribe to predictive licenses. You don't have to make all 10 people predictive. Maybe you're just going to have 2 people. You could upgrade 2 people, or subscribe 2 new licenses to the predictive standard user, which a predictive user has both all the business intelligence rights as well as predictive rights. And then after that, there's also the planning rights. So that would be another user, an analytic standard user. So a planning person could work with all of that as well. And then, as I mentioned, the cloud lives on its own, but if you're ready to really just show it off, you've got your really cool televisions in a boardroom, you can subscribe to the digital boardroom and have that ready to go again in a boardroom or call center or in factories. You could have it in the hallway with live data. People could walk by and just see how the company is doing. So what are the core capabilities with business intelligence in the SAP BusinessObjects Cloud? First of all, you can connect to your data, and you can bring in your data and prepare and model it right in the cloud. You can right inside of your browser. You can connect to different data connectors such as SAP or as well as non-SAP sources. And once you have your data in, it's not just, you can also clean up you can link it together. So you can link aggregated data sources. You can have multiple models and they can be linked together. Once you have your data together, you can then visualize your data. So you have common items such as common charts and tables, but you can also bring in really powerful geo maps to do really powerful analytics. And lastly, you can share. You can share using Rombi, the BusinessObjects Rombi, and then other people can, again, on the go, look at the analytics. And it does also have row-level security and security at the story level, for example. So you can control what people can see, and even if people log into a story, someone from the East Coast can see different data than someone from the West Coast, for example. There are several chart types available. So we have your typical comparison charts like bar and column chart. We have trend charts, which are line and area. One I really like are the time series charts, which I'll show you in a little bit. We have distribution, correlation, indicator charts as well, and a few more, such as you can see here we have heat maps and tree maps. What I really want to get into are the geomaps. This is what I absolutely love about the cloud. Just all these different geomaps that are available. You have your common geomaps like bubble layer, heat maps, choropleth layer. Those are all there, but what I really love are things such as the point of interest layer. You can enter a bunch of things. Maybe you have a list of all of your stores. You can upload a list of all of your stores and their latitude, longitude, and they can be available to put into any chart. Or maybe you're working, like for example, national parks. You could put in park information. Anything that you find of interest, you can upload and have available for any of your charts, and you can compare your data to those points of interest. There are a couple more layers I want to discuss. For example, there's the feature layer, where you can bring in Esri maps, maybe terrain information. You can connect right to an external source and bring that right in. And what I really love, I even have a separate slide for it, is this flow layer, where you can connect two data points, and it'll sync them to, it'll have a source data point and a destination data point, and you can see them working together. This is really useful. You can see my example here with flight information, flight paths. You can also work with roads, railroad tracks, anything you can think of that has a source and a destination. It's really, really powerful. I mentioned the data connectors. These are some of the available connections. So for example, we do have several SAP connections, such as SAP BW, BPC, Universes, ERP, and these are imported data connections. So these would be imported and the data would then live in the cloud. Now, there is a scheduler available, so it's not a manual pull. You could schedule your data to say run every morning at 5 a.m. or every couple of hours, and it can pull in the data again and again. However, if you do need something really absolutely on the fly live, you can connect to a live data connection with SAP HANA. There are more imported data connections available, such as with databases like Microsoft SQL Server, or we have SaaS connections as well, software as a service connections, and there are more coming soon. SAP is planning to add these data connections sometime in the future. They're planning to have live connections to SAP S/4HANA, as well as they are going to make BW a live connection. And they are going to add more imported connections like Ariba and Fieldglass, and some other non-SAP connections I find really fascinating, like Marketo, Google Analytics, Twitter, as well as Amazon, like Redshift and S3. For those of you who are administrators, security will be very, very familiar, especially if you have worked with on-premise business objects. You still have your users, and groups are now called teams, but it's the same concept. You have your users in a team, and you can assign roles to the teams. And the tool itself comes out with several roles out of the box, but just like traditional on-prem business objects, you can build and create your own roles and modify the roles as you need them. There is also role-level security, so you can go down to the dimension level and decide if you need to add data access control to objects. That would be the scenario, such as you don't want someone from the West Coast to see the East Coast sales. You can control at the role level as well. Going to the digital boardroom, this really is just a way just to show off the BusinessObjects Cloud. Just, again, rather than coming to a meeting with a sheet of paper and handing it out, just imagine walking into a room with televisions and where you're doing your presentation, actually going up and clicking on things, saying, I know we've got a problem here, clicking on it in front of the whole room and explaining why there's a problem, and even coming with some solutions on the fly with data. You can slice and dice across multiple screens. So for example, you can go up to the left screen, press something, and it'll change the other screens. Now, again, this does work with a single monitor. So if you're not quite ready to invest in the 3 touchscreen televisions, it will work with a single screen as well. This demonstration will mostly be on the business intelligence piece of the cloud, but I do want to talk a little bit about planning and predictive as well. You can do planning right within a story. So if you have rights to do planning, you can go open up a story and you can look at its data behind the scenes, and you can set up distribution for actuals and budgets, and you can assign data, allocations, etc., right within a table inside of one of the stories. There are different types of planning available working with planning software. So I also mentioned there is predictive as well. So you could go into a story, and if you have the correct rights, you can switch to a data mode, which I'll show you the difference between the story mode and data mode in a few minutes. And you can start creating discoveries. So you can go open up a story, look at its dimensions and measures, and you can select which of them you want. You can set a baseline, and you can compare and see what's affecting your data set. And if you like it, you can save that discovery, and you can go and create more discoveries all on this one model in a story. And I just really like the idea that you can create discoveries and save them so others can look at them. So I've kind of given you a little piece of what's available. Let's go and actually check out, let's take a look at the BusinessObjects Cloud software. Now I've already logged in, so I already have it running, and you can see I'm using Chrome here. It is working in my browser. And I have the ability to customize my own screen. So I've actually gone ahead and I have a few charts right on the screen. Pretend I'm a manager. I can look and I have my bottom 5 sales reps. So I know, okay, I need to give these people a call. They're not doing so well. And oh, it's the beginning of the month. Hey, these are the people who were doing really well last month. Hey, maybe I'll call their boss and let them know, hey, let's reward these people. They did a really good job. Over on the right, I have sales revenue with all these different countries. And I can look and I can quickly see, yeah, US is doing really well, and India after that. But maybe I want to dig into my data a little bit further. I can press this expand button right here, and it takes the chart and it fills up the whole screen. And I can quickly just see what all the colors, you can see my colors are affected on the right. And I can see that the top 10 visualization, well, maybe I want to see the next 2 underneath Germany. I can quickly just click on top 10, change it to a top 15. And on the fly, it has changed my visualization to now show 5 more countries. Again, I haven't even gone into a true story. I'm just looking at my visualizations right on my main screen. Let me collapse this back to where it was. And I want to just discuss some of the different pieces that we can see on this main screen right here. At the very top, there's a little magnifying glass. I can click on that. And let's say I know I've got some information on flights. I just want to look that up. I can just start typing flight. And it quickly returns any object that has flight in it. Now, I do have rights to everything, models, dimensions, etc. But you would only see what you are allowed to see. So maybe a manager might not want to see all the technical work. And so they would just have a list of all their stories with flights in it. Over on the top right, I have a few other options. I have this little button. This gives me a list of all of my alerts. So I can actually see that in one of my stories, I have a warning for my KPIs. So I have an issue with sales revenue in the accessories line. I'll go back and take a look at that later, but at least I know I have something I need to take care of. And actually, if it'll give me a warning later on, it'll turn blue, letting me know to look at this alert. So I don't have to remember to do that every time. Oh, there it is. It just popped up right now. On the top right, I have a time panel, which will give me a list of events, and I can see, oh, on February 7th, I have to prepare for my weekly meeting. And I can actually click on this. And I have it right in Gantt view. I can switch from Gantt to calendar view. And I can see that, yes, I need to prepare for my weekly meeting. And I also have someone who's going to review my meeting notes, and then someone who's going to approve them. And then down below, I can also open up related content, and I know, okay, this is the story I need to work with for my meeting. And I can choose to accept or decline the task. Let me go back to home. Close this. I also have a discussions panel on the top right. so I can add discussions and send to my coworkers. It'll keep it inside the cloud, but it'll also fire off an email. They don't have to know to log into the cloud. They can get emailed right away if I have something for them I want them to discuss or look at with me. Going over to the right, sorry, on the left, I have the ability to, this is where I can do everything over on the left. I can create new items such as stories. So stories will be my dashboards or reports. So I can go in, and what I like about the tools, if you start out saying, well, I'm not quite sure what I want, maybe I want a dashboard, you can quickly change it to a report. You're not stuck. You don't have to start all over if you go down, if you start with a different template. Now once you have a story, and you maybe have several pages in the story, you can use a boardroom agenda to share your story in a meeting. So that way you can prepare everything, prepare your screens, and set it all up. Now, as I mentioned, I have rights to see everything. So in this role, I can also see models. So I could create a new model where I can import data, massage it, and have it available for different stories. So if you're a business objects, traditional business objects person, think of this kind of like that semantic layer, like a universe, or just a semantic layer. If you have access to planning, you can create processes. You can set up allocations and value driver trees. We also have the ability to create dimensions. So this is a little different from traditional business objects, but if you're more of a, this might be, I find this is a little more kind of like classic SAP like BW, where you can create dimensions on their own and you can pull the dimensions into models, which is pretty slick. Associated with planning as well, we have currency, where you can upload currency information, such as currency rates, such as converting from American dollars to Canadian dollars. And you can import, for example, I could import a new table, or I can also import it from SAP BPC. And also lastly, one other thing I can create is a point of interest, which is literally just a file of everything I find important, like I just mentioned, parks or stores and their latitude, longitude coordinates, and I can have it available for any of my geomaps. I already showed you events, and I do want to talk about security a little bit. So from here, you can go in and you can see your users, teams, roles, etc. What I really wanted to show is things such as data changes. You can see if any data has changed. And I do want to show you activities in a little more detail, where I can see what's been going on. So I can see, now this is a test environment, so it's mostly me in here, but I can see anything that I've changed, anything I've updated, see when I've logged in. I can see that I've deleted a few things as well. So it's just a nice log for administrators just to see what's going on. And I can also filter and download items as well if necessary. And I can even filter on a date range. Also, I have available on the left, there's deployment, so I can, if I ever need to, I can export items, such as you can do your own backup, and you can also import as well. But again, everything is backed up at SAP's data centers, but some people just are more comfortable being able to just make backups on their own, of their own stuff onto their own computers, and that is available if you need to do that. From here, I can also create new connections. So this is where I would go in and I would add a new connection, or I could also set up a scheduler. So if it is an import connection, I could have it scheduled again, like for example, every day, every week, etc. Lastly, I just want to go over some of the system stuff before I jump into the really fun things. I really want to show off monitoring, and from here you can also do administration. The monitoring is really slick, where I can go in and see how much memory is being used. I can see information about all my different license levels, like planning, analytics, etc. I can see what items are using the most memory, and wow, my flights are taking up 27 megabytes. So it's pretty big. I happen to know that it has a lot of data in it. And as I mentioned, this is a test box, so I'm the one using a lot of memory myself. I can also track the system usage, how many transactions. So I've done the most transactions, again, because I've been doing a lot of the work in here. And I can even look at my trace logs as well. So if I run into any errors, they'll all show up in my trace logs, which is pretty cool. So let's go into the fun stuff. Let me walk you through creating a new story. So I'll go up and I'll say create a story. And this is where I can go in and say, well, do I want a dashboard or report? And as I mentioned, if you pick something and you change your mind, it's pretty easy to fix. But for now, I'll start with a report. And because I picked report, the first thing it automatically assumed is I wanted a title page. So I could go in here, I can change my title page. And that looks good, I'm happy with that. I can go up and I can add another page. I can say add, I can add just a grid, which would just be a table. A grid is very useful with planning, but I want to have something a little more interactive with some charts. So I'm going to instead create a canvas. And from here I can pick these items such as charts, geomaps, etc. But before I do that, I want to look over on the left. I can add some new data, or I can work with these existing data sets. I'm going to go and add some data right now. Now, I can use an existing model, so I can grab something that already is out there. I could also import a file, so I could import from a spreadsheet, or what's really slick, you actually, let's say you're a startup, you just want to just get working. Maybe you are using Google Drive. You can actually connect right to Google Drive. Maybe you have a public Google Drive you share with your few other coworkers at your startup, and you can just pull in data right from there. I'm going to import data from my desktop. I have a spreadsheet I have configured. I'll say OK. And it is uploading data into the cloud as we speak. And I like it. It's got a little status telling me how long it's going to take. And now I can see my data set. And it looks pretty good. I could actually start using it as it is, but maybe we want to clean it up a little bit. So for example, I want to be able to drill from city to country. I want to set up drilling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to city, and I'll connect it to country. So I'd go, and down there's something that says add dimension attributes. I'd connect it to as a parent-child hierarchy. And I'll tell it that country is the parent of city. And it looked through my data set here, and it noticed an issue. Because city stored Singapore and country stored Singapore, so it's saying that's kind of a circular hierarchy. It's going to cause some issues. So I can quickly go to country, and I'm going to look for Singapore in my record. And I can just click on it, and I can just quickly rename it. I'll call it Republic, and select Apply. And it's gone through all 300 some records, and now they all say Republic of Singapore. Pretty easy to clean data right within the screen. Next, I can also go to my date. It looks pretty good, but one thing I want to do, I want to enhance my date so that way it works with, it'll slice up by year, quarter, month, etc. And just looking through my data, I have these little, kind of look like little circles, the line coming out of them. These are all my measures. Everything's looking pretty good. And I have latitude, longitude information as well, which I'll come back to in a little bit. And one more thing I want to do, I'm going to go to my city, and I'm going to create a location. That way it tells it that the latitude, longitude columns will work with the city. And I'll just quickly create something based on geography, get the city name. I can just quickly set up the location for, let's call it city, and then my latitude and longitude. Now, I've been doing a lot of stuff, and I haven't quite, what did I do? I know I made some changes to Singapore. I kind of forget what I've been working with, but the nice thing is I can, at any time, go up to the top right and select history, and, oh yeah, that's everything I've done. It gives me a list of every change I've made from the original import of the data. So this is really useful when you've been making changes like I've been doing. So I'm going to go up and save this. Even though I haven't really made anything else on a cover page, I do just like to save my work. This tool is stable, but I'm just always one of those people that likes to just save often, rather than I've worked with enough other tools where I'll work for a while and I don't want to lose my work, so I just like to save. So it's just importing all the data into the story and updating it. Just want to give it a little more time. There we go. Now I'm going to give it a name. And just like in on-prem business objects, we have different locations. We have private, which would be the equivalent to my documents. And this is just my stuff. But maybe I'm very confident this is going to be great. I can go up to public, and I can just save it right here. Maybe I'll call this Best Run Feb 2017. Data through January. And so then everyone who can access the system will be able to get to this story. Now I'm still in my data view, and I want to show you something else at the top before I go into the actual story. This model is only associated with this story at this point. No one else can use this model. So let's say I'm really happy with this model. I can share it by saying publish, and then I can share this model with other people. I can refresh the data. That'd be useful if it was like instead of a spreadsheet, a connection to an imported data source or HANA. If I had an imported connection like BW that would have prompts, I can edit the prompts here. And also, if I had another model that I wanted to connect to this, I could use the Link Dimensions button to link those two together. And I know I'm almost through the story. I've got one more thing I want to show you. I'm going to press this data exploration button and check this out. I can explore my data. Let's say I'm new. I don't quite know what my data looks like. I can add some dimensions. Maybe I'll just go and add all of them. And I can slice and dice and analyze my data right in here. Maybe I'll select sales revenue. And I want to grab maybe lines. And it quickly makes a chart for me. If I don't like that chart, I can pick something else. But I'm happy with this bar chart. And if I really like it, I can say, you know what, I'm going to use this in my visualization. So I can go click this little button, and I can say copy to page 2. And so now, here's my page. And I can see my chart right here. And I could go add another chart. Again, I can grab from that model I just created, or I could grab from another one on the system. I'll just use the one I just uploaded. And I'm going to bring in a few items. I'll bring in sales revenue and quantity sold. And let me also go down to my dimension and bring in date. And so I just have my default column chart. I can make it a little bigger. And I want to show you, I have a line chart I can use, or what's really slick, I'm going to change it to a time series. The line chart's all right, but if I switch to time series, because it's a date, it'll automatically slice up my data and present it properly. And what I've seen this with some stock sites where I can change, maybe I wanted to see the last 6 months, last 3 months, and maybe going down the dates too much detail, I can anytime go up to a different level, such as quarter, and I have my data for the last 1 year by quarter. And maybe I want to just add one more thing. I'll add a grid. And I can just import a table quickly. And it automatically brings in all my measures. I just need to give it a dimension. I'll add manager information. I now have a list of all of my managers. But maybe I don't want all those measures after all. So I can always just go over, click on my little filter, and just show the only thing I really care about, which is customer satisfaction with the managers. And if I'm happy, I'll just save my work. And since this is a report, I can go up and I can say save as file, and it'll export to PDF. I can print out all the pages, and I'm going to include this insert appendix. Like you to see what that looks like. And I can also just print out the spreadsheet as it is. Or I can also say I want to split up by a certain number of rows and columns per page. So I could change this. Maybe I want to show 8 columns and 20 rows. And then I'll say OK. And it's taking a little bit of time because it's crunching it. It's going to generate a PDF file. And you may not really see it, but behind the scenes actually went from page 1 to 2 to 3 in the gray. And hey, it downloaded my file. I can open it up. And there we go. I have PDF, which I can email or print off. And then here's my table, how that looks. And then here's that appendix, which again, this is kind of technical, but it's, rather than having to generate an appendix by hand, the software does it for me. And what I really love is it includes this. So if I sent this off to somebody in an email and they have access to my cloud server, they can click on this and actually go and open up the story. They don't have to ask me where it is. Let me close this PDF down. Now, let's go ahead and let's take a look at a story that I've made pre-made. I'm going to go up to my stories. I'll select Browse Stories. And what I love the way this is set up in the cloud is we have, like in traditional business objects, we have public, and we have what we've been called my favorites, my stories. But with the cloud, they have this all, which mixes your public, your my stories, your shared, your samples, all on one screen. So you don't have to go digging through different places. It's all right here. So I want to take a look at something called Best Run Weekly Story. And this looks kind of similar to what I just built, but it's bigger. You notice it's actually bigger than my little laptop resolution here. This is actually designed for a full HD monitor, which we'll see in a second. And I can go and I can click on some of the lines. For example, I can click on sweat t-shirts. I can filter on sweat t-shirts if I want. Now I don't have it hooked up to the other locations, but that's something I can always set up. Let me remove my filter here. I can go and I have different pages. I have a map. And give myself a little more space and press F11 to hide my little bar at the top. And I can see I have my map here. And I have two actually different types of layers going on. I have my choropleth with my different countries, and I also have points of interest, or sorry, the heat maps, which you can kind of see in the green. So I can see the United States doing really well in the blue. As I mentioned, this is designed for a full screen HD monitor, so I do have to scroll down to see my legend, but I could always redesign this for a smaller monitor. And I can click on, say, United States, and I have it set up for drilling, so I can drill down into it. And now I'm only seeing my states in the U.S. I could go down further and further if I so chose, or I can always at any time click on these and go back up. One more I'd like to show you. I'm going to go to a different story. And this has to do with flight information, and I found this really powerful. Now, this dashboard isn't finished. Let's just say I was in the scenario, I purposely left this unfinished. I'm working on a dashboard here. I've got a lot of information. I've got a lot of flight information. And I can see I have a bunch of points of interest and a bunch of different flights. I wanted to show you the designer. we're going to actually go in and I can set a filter based on distance. So if I remove my filter, it's going to take a little bit of time to crunch. I have a big list of flights. And while that's crunching, if it takes too long, I don't want to waste your time here. I want to talk about this filter, which is really cool. There we go. Look at all those flights. That's just too much information to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a filter. And let's say I want to maybe market to people who might be coming in near my stores. So I could say destination airport, and I could say only show me stores that are within so many kilometers of an airport, maybe 10 kilometers. Let me do 15 kilometers of my best run stores. So I also happen to have coffee shops. So these are just different things that I happen to have as reference. So my stores, it will filter to only show me the flights that land near my stores. And voila, now it's shrunk a little more. I could probably go down further, but at least I don't see everything. I just see the people that will land near my stores. And I also have the ability, so if maybe you don't like this gray, I can change my background of some of my maps as well. I'm going to change the background color or different themes. And I have my base map. So for example, if I want something with street maps, I can select the street maps. And if I zoom into my data a little closer, maybe I'll go up to the US. I'll go towards Dallas. Street map, it will actually give me information. Look at this. I didn't create any of this. This comes with the tool. It has a picture with all the airports, highways, all available. It's pretty slick. So let's say I'm ready for my meeting. I've been working with the tool for a while. I want to really show off BusinessObjects Cloud to my peers in a meeting. So I can go and I have a story pre-made. I go to Browse Boardroom Agendas. And I have a boardroom meeting called Monthly Sales. And this was already set up. I have my name, and I wish I was in Palm Springs right now. It's a little bit warmer there. And I have my January sales all ready to go. I'm going to be talking about what happened last month. And I can click on this. And it will load my first geomap right here. And I can switch between, I can put it into full screen mode. And I can switch between the different screens. But imagine just how much more powerful this would be if I could show this to you on 3 screens. One more thing I want to talk about with the boardroom. There's this button with the camera. I can actually start a meeting and send out email invites right inside of the digital boardroom. I don't want to do that right now. I already have another one going, but I could do that and I could share it. Have people log in and just look right here from the tool. It's pretty powerful. So how would I create my own digital boardroom? I can go and just press the new agenda button. I could create one. Maybe I'll call this one January Sales. I'm going to save it in a public location so everyone can, my reviewers can see it, give me some feedback. And I can just enter a title, add the date, location. But what I really want to get into is I'm going to add a new agenda. And so what I can actually do is add, let's say January sales is the overall meeting. That's my hour-long meeting. I can add sub-items. So I could go in and I've been asked to talk about, there's an issue with Nevada. There's been some problems going on in Nevada, and I need to explain to the board why Nevada's been having some issues. So I'm going to go and add my story. and I'll grab the information from the summary page. And then I can go in and create sub-items. So I can call this Nevada issues. And I can set up the different screens that would be shown. Now I can use different stories. In this example, I'm going to use all the sample stories. But then I can just add different pages. And then there's this little up arrow where I can actually add a little picture. So I have a little picture of Nevada. And then I can add more stories. So let's say I'm supposed to talk about Nevada for 5 minutes. I could add another little story, and I can talk about something going on the East Coast, etc. And then after that, I could pass this along to my peer, and my peer could have his or her set of agenda items right down below. And this could be a full meeting. We just go down the list. And then when I'm ready to present, before I do that, I save my work, go into presentation mode. Here's my Nevada story, where I can go in and discuss the issues we've been having with Nevada. So, as I mentioned, I only have an hour, so really I can only show you the business intelligence piece of the cloud. There's so many more features available, planning, predictive capabilities. That's what I love about this tool, is that's just a one cloud-based solution that provides everything. Again, business intelligence, planning, and predictive capabilities. What also great, it works alone, but it can also work in conjunction with your on-premise BI enterprise. So it can connect to on-prem. And the digital boardroom displays data interactively on multiple touch screens. Or again, if you're not quite ready for that, you could just use it in one screen like I was demoing a few minutes ago. Again, my name is Brandon Novi. And if any questions, I'll turn it over to you, Megan, if you have any questions for me.
Great presentation. Thank you, Brandon. We do have a couple questions. The first being, do we have to pay for additional Esri maps?
Yeah, Esri does come with the cloud. So when you're paying for the Business Objects Cloud, you are paying to use all those Esri maps, those baseline maps, the different geomap types, those all come bundled with it.
Okay. Is regular business objects required to use BO Cloud?
And I should clarify that, no, you do not need on-premise business objects to use the cloud. But if you already have it, they can work in collaboration. You can take advantage of your work you already have in the business objects on-prem.
Thank you. Next is, what other connections will BO Cloud support in the future?
Oh, as I mentioned, it will. They're planning to support things such as Amazon. Some of the other, they're going to make BW Live. Some things like Marketo, Google Analytics. Those are just some things that are in store in the near future.
That's pretty neat. How would you compare BO Cloud to Lumira or Design Studio?
Those are two other tools that are also near to my heart. I really love the complexity of Design Studio, but I know some people are turned off by the complexity of the coding. Or this one, it's all, as you can see, it's all just graphical based, kind of like Lumira. And comparing it to Lumira, the cloud is all in the cloud. It's all it's all in your browser, so you can do all of your work right inside of just one browser from anywhere.
Okay. Next we have, can I subscribe to a BI Plus planning license without Predictive?
Let me go back to that screen. So if you do need a planning license, which is the analytics standard user, it does come with Predictive. So when you subscribe to planning, it does come with Predictive and business intelligence. It's all rolled into one.
And the last question that we have here is, can the visualizations created with the cloud solution be presented as a portlet within a portal solution such as LifeRay?
I don't have that answer right now. I'd have to do some research, and I can get back to you on that question.
Okay. And if anyone else has any questions right now, please feel free to type those into the chat box. If not, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Brandon, for your insightful presentation. Again, any of the previous webinars that y'all want to catch are on our website at dunsolutions.com. We're going to hang around on the line for a couple minutes here and make sure that nobody else has any questions before we go. But if you do log out, thank you again for joining us today, and we hope to see you at webinars in the future.
Thank you.